anything wrong. Just leave us alone.
It started with flashing red and blue lights slicing through my quiet evening. I was standing in my driveway, holding a half-empty cup of lemonade, my heart pounding as two police officers walked toward me. One of them asked, "Sir, did you lock someone inside your property?" I froze, confused. "What?" "No, I just locked my gate." The taller cop pointed toward the street. Standing there like he owned the world was Ethan, the teenage son of the neighborhood's self-appointed queen, Karen Reynolds, the president of our HOA. She stood behind him with her arms crossed, a phone in one hand, her expression sharp and self-righteous. Apparently Ethan had called 911 because I'd locked my own gate, and as crazy as it sounded, they were serious. That was the night I realized this wasn't just another HOA disagreement. It was the start of something that would turn my peaceful home into the center of a police investigation and the craziest neighborhood feud our town had ever seen. It all began 6 months earlier, when I bought my little house on Cedar Ridge Lane. It wasn't fancy, just a cozy two-story with a white picket fence, a porch swing, and a small pond nearby. I'd moved there for peace. I'd wanted quiet nights, open skies, and friendly neighbors. For a few days that dream felt real. Then I met her. Karen Reynolds, president of the Homeowners Association, appeared on my third day like a storm cloud in heels. She walked right into my yard while I was planting flowers, clipboard in hand, wearing a blue suit that looked more like a uniform than an outfit. "Hello, I'm Karen, the HOA president," she said, flashing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I like to personally welcome all new residents, to make sure they understand our community rules." That should have been my first red flag. I told her I wasn't even sure my house was under the HOA, since my realtor had said the boundary lines had changed years ago. She waved it off like I was a child who didn't understand property. "Oh, that must be a mistake," she said. "Everything here is HOA managed. I'll drop off your welcome packet and your monthly dues form." Monthly dues, for an HOA I wasn't even part of. I tried explaining again, but she didn't listen. She never listened. She enforced. For a few weeks I ignored her. Life felt normal. I painted the porch, fixed the fence, and even adopted a stray dog, Bruno, a big brown shepherd with kind eyes. But soon, things started happening. Notes on my door reading, "Grass too long, HOA violation." Photos of my yard taped to my mailbox with red circles around unapproved plants. A pink slip for unauthorized fence modification. Karen was behind all of it. Every time I saw her, she smiled like everything she did was for the greater good. But there was something in her eyes. Control, ownership, power. She treated the neighborhood like it belonged to her, including my house. Then there was her son, Ethan, 16, smug, always recording people with his phone. He called himself the HOA enforcer. One evening I caught him filming me while I was fixing my gate. "Hey kid," I said, "can you stop recording?" He grinned. "Mom says we have to document violations. Your gate's not HOA approved." I tried to laugh it off, but I was furious inside. That was when I decided to reinforce my gate with a heavy lock. Not to defy anyone, just to protect my privacy. I had no idea that simple act would bring cops to my door. That Saturday started normally. The sun was bright. Bruno was lying on the porch, and I was grilling some burgers. I saw Ethan and his friends by my fence laughing at something, but I ignored them. Later that day, I noticed the gate had been tampered with. The lock was loose, so I fixed it again and hung a small sign. "Private property. Do not enter." That should have been the end of it. But near sunset, I heard yelling. Ethan was climbing my fence. "Get down from there!" I shouted. He jumped back, glaring. "My ball went over." "There's no ball in my yard," I said. "You can't just climb over." He rolled his eyes. "Mom says that gate's for community access." I couldn't help but laugh. "Kid, this is private property. Your mom doesn't decide what happens here." He stormed off. 10 minutes later, red and blue lights filled my yard. The officers asked for proof of ownership. Karen was behind them, shouting about public access and neighborhood safety. I went inside, got my property deed, and handed it over. The officer read it carefully, then looked at her. "Ma'am, this property isn't under your association." For a moment, I thought she'd back down. But Karen never backed down. "That map's outdated," she barked. The HOA expanded years ago. The cop shook his head. Then file a civil claim, but there's nothing criminal here. Her smile froze. You'll regret this, she said. And she walked off with Ethan glaring at me like I'd just declared war. I didn't know then how true that would turn out to be. The next morning, I found an envelope taped to my mailbox. HOA notice of non-compliance. It listed 5 violations. Unapproved gate, wrong mailbox color, improper fencing height, hostile conduct. Over $600 in fines. I wasn't even a member. I laughed bitterly and went to the county zoning office. The clerk, Patty, confirmed it. My property was outside the HOA. I had the proof stamped and signed. When I got home, Karen was waiting with 2 other board members, all holding clipboards like police badges. Mr. Davis, she said, you're expected to comply with community regulations. I just came from zoning, I said. You have no jurisdiction, she smiled thinly. We'll review your case. Her son filmed everything. That night I sat on my porch wondering just how far she'd go. I didn't have to wait long to find out. Near midnight, Bruno growled. I looked out the window and froze. Karen was at my gate with a crowbar, prying it open, while Ethan held a flashlight and filmed her. I ran outside. Karen! She dropped the crowbar instantly. I was just checking for damage, she stammered. With a crowbar? I snapped. She smiled that fake smile again. We thought someone was trapped. I pointed to the camera above the door. Take one more step and I'll call the cops. She grabbed Ethan's arm and hissed, This isn't over. I didn't sleep that night. The next day I filed a police report. They told me to install cameras, so I did. 2 nights later, the footage caught Ethan sneaking back, trying to unscrew the gate hinges. That was it. I printed the photos and took them to Karen's house. Your son broke into my yard, I said. She didn't even blink. Kids make mistakes. At midnight? With a screwdriver? I said. That's not a mistake, Karen. That's a crime. She smirked. You can tell whoever you want. This community knows me. That arrogance burned into me. But I stayed calm. I handed the evidence to the sheriff and waited. For a few days, things went quiet. Then I came home to find my gate ripped open again and a new sign nailed to my fence. Community access path, do not block. By order of Cedar Ridge HOA. I tore it down, but I could feel eyes watching from across the street. Neighbors whispering, filming, judging. Karen had turned them all against me. That night, around midnight, headlights flashed again. Karen returned with 3 board members carrying tape measures and clipboards. They started inspecting my yard in the dark. My floodlights lit up their faces. Karen! I shouted. It's midnight. She didn't flinch. Routine inspection, she said. You're ignoring regulations. You're trespassing, I said. You can't vote yourself into my land. Her team hesitated, but she barked. Keep measuring. I pointed to the camera. You sure you want this recorded? Her fake confidence cracked for just a second. Then she muttered, This isn't over, and left. The next morning I took my footage to the county office again. Patty printed certified copies of my property map. Official proof I was outside HOA limits. But when I got home, Bruno was limping. Someone had set a wire snare by my fence. I freed his paw, shaking with anger. Reviewing the footage, I saw Ethan again, crouching near the fence before dawn. That was the final straw. I gave everything to the sheriff. That evening, a patrol car stopped at Karen's house. Ethan was warned. For a moment, I felt justice, until I heard the crash. My gate, the one I'd just repaired, was lying flat again. Karen stood behind it, screaming. You humiliated my son? You'll pay for this. Her face was red, wild. I grabbed my phone and filmed as she shouted threats. Then she stormed off, leaving destruction behind. The next day, I filed another report. The deputy took photos and promised an investigation. I had video proof now, clear as day. But the next morning, something unexpected happened. A letter pinned to my broken gate, written in shaky handwriting. I'm sorry. My mom's stressed. Please don't press charges. Ethan. For a second, I felt pity. Maybe he wasn't the enemy. Maybe he was just a kid stuck in her chaos. I pocketed the note and went to talk to Karen one last time. She opened the door looking tired, not angry, until I said I was done fighting. Then her smirk returned. You think you've won? She whispered. You've ruined my order. I walked away, but her last words followed me. You'll regret this. That night, 2 men in suits arrived at her house. They weren't cops. Their car said, Cedar Ridge Legal Affairs. They talked for a long time, and every few minutes Karen pointed at my house. The next morning, I got an email. A cease and desist from the HOA's lawyer accusing me of defamation and demanding I remove my cameras and pay nearly $1,000 in dues. Attached was a fake map claiming part of my land belonged to them. I couldn't help but laugh at the insanity, but it wasn't funny for long. I went to the county office again, got another certified map, and called a lawyer, Clara Jennings. Calm, sharp, unshakable. "They've crossed the line," she said. "Don't respond to them. I'll handle it." For the first time in months, I felt hope. Until that night. Around 10 p.m., a man with a flashlight appeared by my fence. "Cedar Ridge Security," he said. His uniform looked fake. "This is private property," I warned. "Karen sent you?" He hesitated. "Yes, sir," said there were trespassing issues. I stepped closer. "If you or anyone comes back, I'll have you arrested." He left fast. The next morning, Clara filed for an injunction. That afternoon, she served it to Karen in person. The cameras caught Karen yelling on her porch, furious. But the harassment only got worse. Letters appeared in my mailbox, some from neighbors calling me trouble, one saying, "You've made powerful enemies. Move before things get worse." Then, overnight, someone spray-painted my driveway and fence. Rule breaker. "Move out." The paint was fresh, the smell sharp. My cameras caught them. Karen, Ethan, and a man I didn't recognize. Broad-shouldered, tattoo on his neck, a black snake around a hammer. He wasn't from our neighborhood. He looked dangerous. The sheriff called it criminal vandalism. Clara said the county attorney was now investigating the entire HOA. That evening, I found something small and silver near my fence, a key labeled Community Access Gate. Karen had been giving copies to neighbors, trying to make my yard public property. I didn't sleep that night. Around 1 a.m., the same black car from before stopped outside. One of the lawyers dropped off a thick envelope, lawsuit papers. Karen was suing me for defamation and property damage to her HOA gate, my gate. $15,000. I handed everything to Clara the next morning. She read through it calmly, then smiled. "Half of this is nonsense," she said. "We'll file counterclaims for harassment and property destruction." That night, just as I began to relax, my motion light turned on. Fresh paint glistened on my fence, white letters dripping down. Tick-tock. My chest went cold. Bruno barked like he'd never barked before. I checked the footage, Karen, Ethan, and that same man again. Only this time, Ethan's initials, ER, were carved into the wood. Clara saw the footage and paled. "That man," she said, "is part of an unlicensed security group some HOAs hire, criminals." She called the sheriff and the county attorney immediately. "They're investigating now," she told me. Stay inside tonight. That night was long. Every creak of the floor made me jump. At dawn, there was a knock at the door. 2 officers stood there, different ones this time. "Mr. Davis," one said, "we have a warrant for the HOA office and Karen Reynolds' residence." My heart almost stopped. I watched from my porch as patrol cars rolled up to her house. Neighbors peeked from windows as officers carried out files, boxes, even cash envelopes. Karen came out screaming, her hands in the air. Ethan stood behind her crying. It turned out Clara had shared everything, footage, documents, and the county's verification that Karen had forged boundary maps. The fake security guard was wanted for prior assaults. Within a week, the HOA was under full investigation. Karen was charged with vandalism, trespassing, and fraud. The Cedar Ridge HOA was dissolved by court order. When the dust settled, the neighborhood felt strange, quiet, cautious, like everyone was waking from a bad dream. Some neighbors apologized. Others just avoided me. Ethan moved away with his aunt. One morning, I found a small note in my mailbox again. "Thank you for stopping her. I'm sorry for everything." I folded it and put it away. The new HOA that replaced Karen's was run by decent people. The town fixed my fence, and the sheriff's office kept extra patrols for a while. Life slowly went back to normal. Sometimes, when I sit on my porch with Bruno sleeping beside me, I still think about those nights, the flashing lights, the shouting, the fear that came from someone who thought control was power. But in the end, truth won. And every time I lock my gate now, I smile a little because that sound, the click of that lock, isn't just security. It's freedom.